Right, well, Labour's Thangam Debbonaire joins us now, the newly appointed Shadow Culture Secretary. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on the new show.
Thank you, it's great to have you on. I want to talk a bit later about some of the things that John was talking there about kind of the speech today and some of the conversations with the unions. But I just want to, first of all, what is Labour's position on the triple lock?
Well, we will always be the party that defends pensioners. The last Labour government took hundreds of thousands of pensioners out of poverty. I think that's a fundamental principle for us because we believe in that principle that the Labour Party was founded on, which is about cradle to grave. We know that we need a great start in life for children, and we also know that people who've worked all their life need to be protected from poverty. So we'll always stand up for them.
So the really specific question, really simple question, what is Labour's position on the triple lock?
Well, the first thing is Rishi Sunak needs to come clean over whether or not he is going to stand by his manifesto commitment made 4 years ago.
What's Labour's position on it?
I really wish, Sophie, that I could answer definitively to every question that you put like that, and we're going to do this many times, I'm sure. But after the last 6 months, year, 13 years that we've had, even just the last 6 months, when the Tory budget, that mini budget in which we saw, as we were sitting in the chamber, the pound plummeting, in which pensions themselves had to be bailed out. Now, that's the backdrop we've got at the moment. I really wish that we don't have possibly another year more of this government, but we might. And they may do anything in that year. It would be really irresponsible of me to tell you right now what we're going to be able to do and with what money, because that would not be responsible with other people's money. However, that fundamental principle that we've always had, that we will be on the side of pensioners, that remains.
Look,
I know it's frustrating.
I get that you don't want to set up a manifesto, you know, it's not on your brief, but it is quite a fundamental question, this. And I think if you're a young person, to be completely honest, and you're grappling with rent, you've been seen borrowing costs go up, you've student debt, you're struggling to pay your bills at the supermarket, and you see pensioners, many of them who may have been doing quite well out of interest rate rises as they've got savings, maybe not having a mortgage, and you see that, hang on, they're going to be going up by 8.5%, and the Labour Party won't say what your position is on that.
And like I said, I really wish I could give you a definitive answer to what we're going to be able to do after another possibly 12 months of Tory damage.
What would you like to do on the triple lock? What would you like to do? Are you in favour of it broadly? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's unfair?
You mentioned young people there, and you mentioned the crisis they're having with their rents, with mortgages, if they've been able to get a mortgage. There will be another 2.6 million households next year who will come off a fixed-term mortgage, many of them young families, or many of them young people wanting to start a family. We've got to try and find a way of balancing the economy for everybody.
£2 billion
that's going to be
a year
different.
From
and that's
changing
difficult.
the triple lock.
That's difficult. And it will be a much bigger challenge than that. The first thing that we're going to need to do, the overwhelming priority, and with Rachel Reeves as Chancellor, I know we can do it, but it will be tough, will be to stabilise the economy and then to grow the economy. Now, businesses tell me, and they tell Rachel, they tell all of us, the thing they most need is a government that is focused on that stability. If we're able to do that, and I think we can, I think we've got the policies and the approach with business to do that, if we're able to grow the economy, that will mean that the state has more money to spend. That's fundamental to other reforms that we would dearly love to make, but can't at the moment promise until we know, A, what damage the Tories do in the next possibly 12 months, and therefore, B, how quickly we can grow the economy. That is overwhelmingly the #1 priority for the next Labour government if the country trusts us and votes for us in the general election. How
can you expect the country to trust you and vote for you if you won't tell the country what your fundamental principles are on stuff like the triple lock?
The fundamental principle is we will always be on the side of working people, of pensioners, of young people. That is a principle.
That is kind of meaningless. But anyone could say that. You know, Rishi Sunak could say that.
Anyone doesn't, but he doesn't, does he?
Well, he doesn't say it's on the side of working families.
He has
Conservatives say that all the time.
He hasn't settled the question, and he's in government at the moment. He's the one that's got the levers on power. I wish he didn't, but he does. He hasn't said whether or not he's going to stick to his manifesto commitment. Now, that's something we will not do.
People need to know that you're poised and ready to take over.
And we are. And the fundamental principle there is of growing the economy so that we've got more money coming into people's pockets through good jobs, as Angie Rayner was talking about so brilliantly today, through getting good pay protection, good ways of growing businesses who tell us that they are sitting on capital that they want to invest and they don't because they don't know the direction the government's going in. The next Labour government has set out clearly what direction we want to go in. We want to invest in the first clean energy revolution to get us to net zero energy by 2030. That's a clear direction of travel because it shows businesses how we want them to consider investing and plan for the future. We've said that we want to make sure that we use scrapping the non-dom tax relief to invest in our public services. We know what schools and hospitals need in order to be able to get more people off. There's 3 million people who are on sick leave at the moment who could be working. Now, in Labour government, that's a fundamental principle. We want people in work, and to do that, we need to repair the health service. That's quite radical. I think that's bold.
It costs a lot of money repairing the health service.
Yes, and that's why we're careful not to announce plans that we don't know how we're going to pay for. That's why it matters, because it's other people's money, and we know how we're going to do that because we know exactly which tax break we're going to cancel in order to pay for it.
Well, that's not going to pay for reforming the health service, is it? The non-dom tax?
That's actually quite a lot of money. That's billions of pounds, which we can help spend. Right? Yes, and that's quite a lot of money that we can be spending now if we were in government. But added to that, we will get rid of the VAT tax exemption on private schools, which will help fund more teachers in state schools so that more children can benefit from a high-quality education. Those are bold, visionary commitments.
Now, I just want to have a little listen to what the leader of Unite said at the conference today. This is the TUC conference. Unite, of course, donates quite a lot of money to the Labour Party. She had a few words of advice. Let's take a listen.
But I would like Labour to be bolder. I'd like them to see and come out with policies that is really going to change what's happening in Britain today. Britain is essentially broken, and I would like them to come out with bolder policies.
You say you're being bold. You better tell Sharon Grey, and she doesn't think so.
Investing in getting our economy to net zero, which means hundreds of thousands of great jobs, both in the supply chain, but further up, that's bold. That's going to transform our lives. That's going to change how we run our country. Tackling climate change is of existential importance. But from that, from tackling climate change, will come those good jobs of the future, will allow businesses to invest, to direct where they're putting their money. I think that's bold and visionary.
She warned you against becoming a 1990s tribute act. I mean, you were part of that 1990s tribute act, weren't you?
Graham's never going to be satisfied, I'm sorry, but the vast majority of those at the TUC conference thought what Angela had to say was fantastic.
Yes, and then the 1990s tribute act transformed the country. We, that Labour government
you're happy
brought back that joy. I want to see this country feeling uplifted, and at the moment, people look around and they know that just about everything feels broken. Whether you're trying to get to work in public transport, or you're trying to drive down the road where there's potholes, or you're trying to get a passport, which has been so difficult, because just the basics are not working.
I want to talk a bit about your brief now. What's your kind of top priority taking over the culture brief?
Well, for a start, the arts and culture and sports sector provides over £108 billion to this economy. That's an incredible thing to value and treasure, but it could be so much more. I've come straight to this interview from an event with part of the cultural sector. They are eager to do more, to create more jobs, to sell more, to make more. And they tell me that what they need is, first and foremost, a government minister on their side, and they don't feel they've got that at the moment. So they told me that the thing that made them most pleased to meet me was that they knew I was on their side, that I'm going to champion them, fighting this government, which I will every step of the way, and I've already warned the Secretary of State that's what I'll be doing, but also fighting their corner in a Labour government. And that's what they mostly ask for.
It's a big transformative time in the media industry as well, right? What's your take on politicians broadcasting their own programmes on TV or on the radio? What's your view?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I find it quite extraordinary that there are serving MPs who will miss a vote on a Tuesday night, which I've watched several of them do, just to hot-foot it to GB News, as you mentioned, but other TV stations are, of course, available for their own shows. That is quite extraordinary because it's providing a pulpit for a very specific party, and I think that is something which I will definitely be reviewing very carefully.
You're going to review it? That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I'm going to have to review because I think there's a lot of detail in how how the culture, media and sport industries work, which we're going to need to examine really carefully.
Is it a principle in itself? I mean, like David Lammy, for example, has a show on LBC, doesn't he, the Labour MP?
But what I see pumping out from those Tory MPs who are doing their shows every night is pure Tory propaganda, and I just don't think that's okay.
It's just okay if they're Conservative?
No, it's not okay if they're using it for propaganda for a political party. I think that, that we need to make sure that those regulations are fit for purpose in the 21st century. We are going to have a media bill if the government follows through. I don't know if they will. I'm going through it carefully at the moment, and I'm reviewing every aspect of it to make sure that it's going to take us into the 21st century. And if they don't, we will.
The Shadow Foreign Secretary is not exactly an impartial voice either, though, is he?
I mean, I think David's a great colleague. He set out a bold programme of how we're going to approach foreign policy when we're in government, looking at trade, looking at human rights. It's a delight to work with him.
Now, I just have to end on this, right? Because this is quite interesting. Professional cellist.
Yeah,
that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's just a background that not many MPs necessarily have. So I thought we'll end with a bit of a quickfire on culture.
Go.
Ready? Football or rugby?
Oh, I've never been to a football or a rugby match, but I know how much it matters to other people. My husband played rugby. My husband played rugby, so I'm going to have to go with rugby.
Charles Dickens or Jackie Collins?
Charles Dickens.
Not Nadine Dorries, no. Mozart or Miley Cyrus?
Miley Cyrus.
Oh, interesting. It's a cellist as well. Oppenheimer or Barbie?
Oh, well, I saw both on consecutive days. I mean, I enjoyed them both, but I enjoyed Barbie far more. I thought Oppenheimer was beautiful, but Barbie was a lot of fun.
In the studio, there's a lot of Barbie love coming from this corner.
By the way,
well.
I love Mozart.
That was the right answer.
I've had a lifetime of playing joyful Mozart, and I've never played a note of Miley Cyrus in my life, but it's a Miley Cyrus track on my mixtape when I go home.
Oh, really? What's your favourite Miley Cyrus?
Well, at the moment, it's Flowers.
There you go. There you go.
Great sentiment.
Love
you can buy
that.
yourself flowers if someone else breaks your heart.
That is actually, to be fair, I'll go with that.
It's a good motto.
I'll go with that.